fishing. People, when you're in the mood, let's go fishing. Well, it's just me and you. Head on down to the fishing hole. Grab your hat, get your pole. Let's go fishing when you're in the mood.
Canadian Sport Fishing is brought to you in part by Rapala, premium fishing gear crafted from experience. Yamaha, conquer outdoors. Dickies, quality workwear since 1922. Blue Cam, a cleaner running engine for a cleaner environment.
You know, I love to fish for certain species of fish that are only available at certain times of the year. Example, I love steelhead fishing, whether it's the Great Lakes or British Columbia. And those fish only run up into the tributaries, whether it's the coastal tributaries or the Great Lakes one, at a very specific time. Same thing with certain types of panfish. And one of them is the white bass. Now, a lot of people have not caught white bass. They're not really a bass, like a smallmouth bass or a largemouth bass. They're more in the category of a panfish or a coarse fish. In many jurisdictions, there's no season on them or limits on them. But I can tell you one thing, when they migrate up the major rivers, like the Great Lakes rivers that are attached to the Great Lakes, they come in by the millions. And they're so much fun to catch if you locate them. Nice hit. Come on. Come on off. Average size one. You can see actually now the current on the surface as we're getting close to the end of this riprap. They should still be feeding all along here. I'm clipping along probably at about 4 or 5 miles an hour. You know, there's two reasons why white bass move into estuary waters of the Great Lakes and also into harbor mouths and upriver, especially big rivers, like the Niagara River and the Detroit River, and even in sections of the St. Lawrence River. They'll move into these river systems for a couple of reasons. One is to feed when the water temperatures start to warm up between 55 and 65 degrees, but the second one is to spawn. So before spawning, and even during spawning, white bass just feed voraciously. I liken them to piranhas, because a lot of times you will hook one fish and you'll see 15, 20 trying to get whatever it's grabbed out of its mouth. You know, fishing twitch baits is amazing. Number one, you can really control the depth, especially if you're fishing in open water, you know, above weeds or rocks and so on. But also a lot of times when the fish come up, you can actually see them, and then you can work your bait and you can make them respond by striking. If I was fishing for larger fish like pike, or let's say muskie, you know, or even really big bass, I would run a bait caster with a little bit heavier braid. But because I'm doing like a variety of fishing today, you know, smaller smallmouth bass, and now especially the white bass because I've stumbled onto them, I prefer to use a spinning outfit. So this is a Rapala R-type. It's a medium action, it's 7 feet long, with a medium action reel, or number 2 size reel. And this is 20-pound Suffix 832 braid. One thing I like about the braid is it's really low diameter. This is like almost like 8-pound test diameter in monofilament. So you can cast it out far when you go to set the hook, no problem setting the hook. And I've got a 12-pound fluorocarbon leader on here, because sometimes you can intercept pike. Nice white bass. I can see all the rocks down there. This guy's a single, but he's a good sized fish. Oh, there's one behind him. Okay, this guy's got all 3 hooks. He's tagged. Okay, now he's got one. I'm getting there. They go for it, they go for it. Okay. I'm trying to cast out in the open. See if I can get a mix of fish.
Closed captioning is brought to you by Cable's Eyewear Retainer. Lightweight, comfortable, adjustable, and waterproof.
This side, we're going to say IC. On this side, we're going to say HA. HA! IC! HA!
Even though white bass move in very high numbers, especially in river systems, they're not just everywhere. They don't really like calm water. We call it frog water. They don't like the super fast water. They like the tailouts of where water goes around points or just at the end of bays and even breakwalls. And I find that you find really high concentrations sometimes really tight to shore. Here on the Detroit River, when they're running full swing, it's normal to see hundreds of people right along the shore and catching them right off the breakwalls. Most of them are using pickerel rigs, which is a weight on the bottom, 2 hooks up top, and using minnows for bait.
And we're just getting ready to put Emily's rod back in the water. So.
Good. You got a good spot because there's a patch of weeds here. I think they're hiding underneath. In that current, brilliant silver. Come on up here. Got to do this very carefully. Yeah, if he wants to thrash, you thrash, but not with the hooks close to my hand. There. I'm going to try to hold him over the water so that hook out will allow it to fall down. See, what I do with the hook out, I try to actually get the shaft of the main hook of the treble. Then I hold it, I turn it upside down, and it works really nicely.
Thanks, Tom.
You're welcome.
I was going to get you in there with a bunch of...
Sure. Big smile. 1, 2, 3, smile. So nice to be here at the ICHA Handy Capable Fishing Derby. This is their 16th year. And you know, I've been up here 3 days, and I've been fishing for all kinds of fish, everything from panfish to white bass to walleye. And this is nice because I get a chance to meet so many people that are here from all over. Some have come over across from Detroit, some are from all over Southern Ontario, and they're here either to participate or to help out as volunteers. So look at nice little rock bass that was caught. Yeah, you got one. I asked you earlier. That's awesome. Well done. Okay, here, you're gonna hold the line so he doesn't go anywhere. You better go quick and weigh him in. Let's go. Good.
And she just lost one, so we just rebaited. She's got a new worm on.
So I'm ripping and not stopping so much because I want that bait to go down about 4 feet. So now it's coming cross current, and they should hit it because they should see the profile of it. But they shift in the there we go. So they are hitting it just as it's kind of fanning around in front of them. So I got a feeling all these fish are laying facing the current, and anything that comes down, they just take a rip at it. And a lot of times there's like a group of 10, 15, so there might be hundreds of them out there. This guy's got the front hook in his mouth. They must have unbelievable sight to be able to spot the bait and to hit it. So this should fall again nicely. Look, I'm just going to go reverse, upside down. Oh, there. This is working okay. I'm going to try on the inside of the seam. They like the current though. So now I'm going to come more on the inside. My wrists are actually getting tired. I think I've gotten about 50, 60 of these fish. Oh, this guy hit right near the boat. Watch out, river. It's got hooks. This just gets trickier when the fish has more than one hook in its mouth. Great for a single hook. So there's one. Don't get hooked on the other one again. See if I can do this somewhat professionally. There we go. You know, white bass are brilliant fish. A lot of people, as a slang, call them silver bass. They're so brilliant, they're such great fighters, and the bigger they get, the wider they get. So they have a lot of mass, and especially in the current, when you get one on, it's a really good fight. This is the lure that, you know, is one of the newest ones from Rapala. It's called the Ripstop, and it is a pretty amazing lure. It casts really well. You can see that it's got a deep body, like a classic baitfish body, but it's narrow. And because it's narrow and deep, when it goes from side to side, when you slash it, it's like a mirror. And then, of course, you've got that little tail that hangs down, which makes it put on the brakes. It's an excellent lure to use. They have a 10-centimeter size, which is just a little smaller than this. Also works really well. But this is their new one. It's 12 centimeter. I prefer the bigger one because I find that, you know, like 2-3 pound bass, no problem going for a 12 centimeter lure like this. You control with it. We've used it for salmon fishing in the Great Lakes. You can see it looks just like a smelt, or you can just twitch it in shallow water and get a variety of fish. Awesome lure. You know, one of the things that I look forward to when we come down here to the Detroit River, it's not just the walleye fishing or the white bass fishing, is the ICHA Handy Capable Fishing Derby. The big thing that I appreciate about the ICHA Handy Capable event is that it's free to the public. People come in from the US, from Michigan, they come from all over southern Ontario, and they come as a family in many cases, and they spend a day or two fishing down here, and then they also come out to the event. So whether it's fishing rods and reels, live bait, life jackets, assistance, you know, everything is provided. And then of course it's all the food, the drinks, and the entertainment. If you're anywhere in southwestern Ontario and you need an excuse to come down to Windsor, time it the first weekend in June. Happens on a Saturday morning, and it's an amazing event. What a nice treat. This is amazing, you know. I'm trying this new, it's called the Ripstop from Rapala, and I'm trying to see how effective it is on white bass. And I've got a nice sized white bass on, and I've got about a herd of 10 or 15. I'm gonna let this guy swim down a little bit. Look at this, nice, you know, a lot of people call them silver bass, but the proper name is white bass. When you get into ones this size, I mean, that's a pretty chunky fish. The way you determine the difference between these and white perch, which are very similar fish, is the white bass is very bright silver, and it has almost like dark lines. See the dots running down? And then underneath, on the underside of the mouth, see if I can just switch hands here, they've got like a white color. The white bass have a little bit of blue, but that's a pretty chunky fish. Big rocks down there. Okay, just one. Back to my pliers here. These guys spawn between 55 and 65 degrees Fahrenheit. So they've done their business, because you can see how thin their bellies are. So the water temperature today is 67 degrees. We're gonna do a drop fish. From my experiences, white bass really like a hard bottom. So when I'm looking for them, it could be a break wall. You know, it could actually be riprap, which is rocks that have been piled up along the shore, or a break wall where the current, when it meets it, is pretty strong. And then you try to find the end of the current where it's before it starts to get into flatter water. Those are the key areas to locate the fish. A lot of times they'll be in shallower water, like flats where there's quite a current and there's a lot of boulders. Nice hit. Come on. I know there's some whoppers in here because I've seen them follow my ripstop right up. This is like a medium action spinning rod, and they're still fighting pretty good. So I better get my hook out here so that I can handle these fish real quick. There. This is where you go through numbers and have fun. So this is the ripstop that I'm using. This is their new one. It's actually a 12 centimeter one. And it's a very interesting twitch bait or slash bait because it's very flat. You can see the body's not very wide, has a very small lip, but it still goes down to about 8 to 10 feet. And then the back, if you can see it, is almost like a paddle tail. It hangs down. So when you retrieve it, you get this really nice action from side to side. If you jerk it, it slashes. But because of this little paddle at the back, it actually stops. So you rip it, and it stops, like instantly. And a lot of times the fish follow it, just smash it when it stops. It's kind of neat. Okay, nice smash. Okay, I got my tape measure out. Let's see if he's 17 or not. I have a 12-pound test fluorocarbon leader. Got the tape measure right at the roof of the mouth. Was I close? Oh, 17. Good guess. You know, the state of Oklahoma, this is the official fish, the white bass. And this guy's lean, beautiful, beautiful fish. You know, when we're looking for white bass using our Raymarine electronic equipment, especially when I'm running the Axiom on the console, I'm looking at the hydrographic chart and I look for areas that are very fast dropping along the shore. And here in the Detroit River, there are many areas where it's very shallow, and you got to be careful because even running out in the middle of the river, it can come up to 0 depth. So there's a reason why there's channel markers, and when you see the big ships come up, the barges, they go right in where the channel markers are. There the water can be 30, 40 feet deep. But even in the middle of the river, I'm talking like a half a mile from either shoreline, you can get into very shallow shoals. So I'm fishing this on a 2-piece, medium action, spinning outfit. I'm gonna try not to hook the trees. And I'm gonna try to work it right along that current break. With my Maui jims, I can actually look into the water. I just missed one. Oh, there's one. So you talk about, you know, fast action when they're in. You can literally get one fish after the other when you locate them. This is gonna be a little tricky because I've got 3 hooks in this fish. There's 2 out. And see if I can get this one. It almost got caught. Now, you know, a lot of times I'll use pliers, but this is called a hook out, and it's really nice. See that little hook that's there? I've got a trigger here, and you can actually pull it in. Okay, big hit. When we came out of the boat launch, we were watching the people from shore. There are people here from up to 5, 6 hours away that are along the shorelines fishing for these guys with big coolers, 6 rows. Back you go, baby. I just want to see, this is the same fish that I was using to get the walleye earlier today. And it's on a big old worm hook, and I'm going to open the worm hook, hopefully without breaking it. So that's already opened up a little bit. If I push the plastic up, you can see it's almost parallel, but that hook is exposed and it's extremely sharp. That's one of those VMC hooks with just a little bit of weight. That's like 1/32 ounce. That little, you can see that little dark thing. So this is really designed for like smallmouth or largemouth twitching. But I mean, it looks like a shad. So I'm going to be curious to see if they're going to hit it. My only concern is they don't have really big mouths, so I may not be able to set the hook. Oh, just missed one. Okay, one. That was actually on the drop. Man, I can see them down there about 5 to 8 feet. They're so bright. This is nice using the single hook because I don't have to worry about the trebles dangling down. You know, someone says to me, Italo, what's the best color to use for white bass? I would say one of 3 choices, silver, silver, or silver. White bass are so imprinted to hitting a bait fish, like a silver bait fish, that if you use a spoon, if you use a spinner, if you use a plastic swim bait, if you use a twitch bait, if you use silver, you cannot go wrong. You know what? This is one of my favorite soft body swim baits. This is called a freaky fish. It's made by Lunker City. But what I want to tell you about is the hook that I got it on. That's a VMC. It's called a drop dead hook. And they come in packages like this. Right now I'm using the one that's 1/16 ounce. So you can see that it's got a little bit of a weight right on the bend of the hook. I've got another package here with a 1/8 ounce. But you get the drift, the way they are. So they've got that little screw at the top that enables you to put your soft plastic on it and screw your soft plastic in so that the fish can't pull it off. And it doesn't get torn by the shaft of the hook tearing through the plastic. And they come in different weight sizes. So this is the 1/8. I love the wide bend. And you see also the little angle right here at the top in the hook. That little bend just below the eye enables the tip of the hook to line up straight with the eye of the hook. So this is the bend I'm talking about right here. It goes down. It's just a little bit more than 45 degrees instead of just being straight. So it actually keeps the soft plastic away from the main shaft of the hook, and then the tip of the hook lines up almost straight with the eye. So you get this perfect presentation. I don't think the fish even see the shaft. They just focus on this bright swim bait and just come up and nail it. And because it's got that little groove, the fish right here on top, you can see that the hook fits nicely there, so there's no way you're going to get weeds caught up on there. But as soon as the fish goes to grab it, they depress the body down and they get that very sharp hook in their mouth. It's kind of nice because in this current, I'm guessing it's about 3 miles an hour. The anchor mode on the motor guide is excellent. No problem holding in this current. Man. Look at, nice fish again. One, hold on. Good, ripped off. Hooks all look good. Came in and just ripped at it. Tell you what, these guys are aggressive feeders. This bait is 5 inches long. So it's not a small, like a panfish lure. That hook is right in the side of the cheek. It's going to adjust the bait fish. This is a 7/0 hook. So look at the size of this silver bass or white bass, and look at, you have to use your imagination now. This is kind of a neat hook. I'm going to actually undo it so that you can appreciate it. It's one of these VMC. It's a swim bait hook. So what I'm doing here is unscrewing. There's like a screw thing here. It's like a screw wire. And what you do is you take the head of your bait fish, so there's my freaky fish right there, and you hold the screw thing still, but what I'm doing is spiraling the freaky fish until it gets right through the spiral, so that way it can't come off. And the bottom has like a, see, it has like a flap and opening so that it allows the hook to sit in there nicely. So I gauge the distance, put it through, and I try to get the hook to come up through the middle. And even the top, I don't know if you can see, the top has a groove. So when you're fishing this weedless in the weeds, that groove that's there actually goes tight to the hook. And there's no way that weeds can get on there.
Canadian Sport Fishing has been brought to you in part by Rapala, premium fishing gear crafted from experience. Yamaha, conquer outdoors. Dickies, quality workwear since 1922. Blue Cam, a cleaner running engine for a cleaner environment.
We've got a nice riprap of rocks here after the trees with a nice current. I'm in about 10 feet of water, and I've got the right distance, and I'm missing fish here on almost every cast. If there wasn't this much current, I'd actually put on a topwater lure. Man, I've seen these fish come up so fast. You see a silver flash and then they're gone. So I'm almost casting right to the rocks, and I'm working it kind of against the current. I've got a beautiful drift.